Hey everybody, what's good? What's going on? JB here with another Cyber Insight live stream. We're going to be doing another TryHackMe challenge room today. If you've been following along, we've been going through the learning path that they have for the CompTIA Pentest Plus certification. So I think we did an Nmap one, a little bit of network fundamentals, and then a network services one. And we're going to be doing a second network services room where we're going to go and try to enumerate and exploit some additional services. So I think today we're going to be doing NFS, SMTP, and MySQL. Or at least we're going to try to do those because as I mentioned before, I am not a pen tester. I am just pretending to be one on YouTube. So we're going to see how that all goes. And yeah, we'll jump into it and try and have some fun with it. So yeah, smash the like button, hit subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you got any questions as we're going through any of this, go ahead and throw those down in the comment section. And yeah, I'll respond back to those and we'll kind of go from there. So let's hop over into my browser. And so we kind of went through this again, but for those who might not have seen some of the other videos, I will kind of cover this briefly. There's a few different things that you need to do when you spin up one of these rooms. The first is actually turning on your machine, the virtual machine that they have here, which I've already done, and split that out into another browser and opened up a terminal. So we are ready to go over here on this server that we have, this Linux server. And then the other thing, which kind of helps speed things up as well, as you kind of go down through these different tasks, you'll see that they have ones with these little green icons. What that means is there's a deployable machine that you need to turn on, and that's pretty much going to be a machine that you're going to attack or enumerate against with the other Linux Kali box that you've spun up. So I've already turned that on as well. The first one here is NFS 2. And yeah, let's just kind of jump into this. So we don't really need to go through this first task section there. And hey, Kiki, what's up? What's good? Let's move down into going over a little bit about NFS. So the way that they kind of have broken these down is there's like an understanding section of the service and then how to enumerate it, which means to be able to kind of do a little bit of recon, kind of pull some information about the specific service and the host that you're going to try to then exploit with whatever specific tool sets we have. So NFS, for those who aren't familiar, it's a network file system. It's kind of a way to be able to share files and directories across the network. And pretty much what you end up doing is using the term they use is mounting this remote drive. So it appears that it's actually locally connected to your machine. Let's see if there's anything kind of interest here. Talking about the client will request to mount a directory to the local host. It uses a RPC remote procedure call. When doing that, the server checks to see if the user has permissions to mount whatever directory it is that's been requested, and then returns a file handle, which uniquely identifies each of the files and directories that are on the server. So important parameters: file handle, name of file to be accessed, the user ID, and the group ID. And I guess some other important things to note here is that it can be used on Windows and non-Windows stuff, so Mac, Unix, Linux, all that good stuff. And it's kind of interchangeable from the perspective of you can host this NFS server either on a Windows box or any of those other non-Windows boxes, and yeah, any of the different types of flavors of OSs can connect to it and access files on there. Not mentioned here, but kind of from like a networking perspective, because a lot of the folks that are kind of watching this come from the same type of background that I come from, which is as a network engineer. NFS, the ports that you're normally going to see with that on your environment is going to be TCP and UDP 111 and TCP and UDP 2049. At least in my experience, that's what I've kind of seen the most. So let's hit up all these different questions here. What does NFS stand for? So we kind of already covered that. Network File System. What process allows an NFS client to interact with a remote directory as though it was a physical device? I want to say that that is going to be mounting. Cool. What does NFS use to represent files and directories on a server? Well, we already mentioned that up here, the file handle. Let's pop that in. What protocol does NFS use to communicate between the client and the server? I believe that's RPC, I think is what we were talking about. Not ROC, RPC. What two pieces of user data does the NFS server take as parameters for controlling user permissions? User ID and group ID. Let's see if I did the spacing right there. There we go. Can a Windows NFS server share files with a Linux client? Yes, most definitely. Can a Linux NFS server share files with a macOS client? Yes. There's a whole bunch of file sharing going on. What is the latest version of NFS? This requires external research. All right, so that's probably going to be a quick trip to the old Wikipedia. NFS version looks like that. Probably NFS version 4, and the latest one there looks like it's going to be 4.2. 4.2, yep, you are on it. Okay, so that is all of that for the understanding NFS. Now we actually get to the good stuff. So we already talked about what enumeration is, which is the process of establishing connections to a target host, trying to discover potential attack vectors via what services are available and running on them. Then we kind of talk about a few different tools that we're going to use here. NFS Common, which when we're kind of looking down through this, it's going to give us a few different things that we're going to be able to do. But I think for the most part, we're going to be interested here in mounting and showing what's mounted. So we're going to talk about port scanning using Nmap. And we kind of already have went over that. And I kind of did a shortcut here today from a lesson learned from the last video that we did where the Nmap scans were taking a really, really long time. So mounting NFS shares. This is going to be the command that you're going to do. So you're going to sudo. So your root, you're going to mount -t and NFS. So this is the type of directory or type of share that you're mounting is NFS, the IP, colon, the share name, and then where you're going to mount it on your local machine, and then -no lock specifies not to use NLM locking. Okay, so let's see if we can do something here. All right, so they were going to have us do a Nmap scan over here, but like I said, last time that we did this, it took a super, super long time to do that, and I didn't want people to have to wait that long. So I actually, ahead of doing this live, I went and did an Nmap scan on this, and this was my output for it. So if you look at what I did as far as the commands here, and if you can't see this too well, just let me know. And that is way too big. So we'll kind of just talk through this. So Nmap and then the dash capital A, so that's going to run all of the scripts, all the fingerprinting, all the versioning type of stuff. It's pretty much going to be a very, very intensive scan. And then the -p hyphen, which is going to make it so that Nmap is going to scan all 65,535 ports, or whatever that number is. If you don't do that, I believe it's just going to default to the top 1,000 ports. So that's not going to be very helpful for us. So definitely want to make sure that you do all of that. Now, what I did do here to kind of speed this up is I used the -t and then 5, which, if you remember from the Nmap one, we kind of covered that. That's different levels of how aggressive the scan is, 5 being the most aggressive. It means or at least I think it means that some of the information might not end up being as valid, maybe, or isn't as sure. And you kind of see down here where it says aggressive OS's guesses, you see it kind of gave like percentages, so it wasn't completely sure, and that probably was because they were saying the test conditions weren't ideal because we were trying to do this quickly. And running the scan this way still took about 10 minutes. So still a lot better than it running for an hour or whatever. So if we look at the specific things that came back, SSH, 111, TCP, that's RPC bind, and has some NFS stuff there. And then 2049, again, that's another NFS one. And then a few other high number ports there. So altogether we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ports. So we'll go 7. Which port contains the service that we're looking to enumerate? Well, I'm going to say, based off of that, we're going to go 2049, I believe is what we're going to want to do. Okay, and now use user sbin showmount -e and then the IP address to list the shares, or to list the NFS shares, and we'll see what's visible there. So let's go do that. And let's see. So I've got sudo mount tnfs. The IP address that we were doing was 10.10.12.33. 12.33. And then the share name. Let's see. Oh, I might have. Oh, yeah. I am a step ahead of myself here, I think. Show mount E. I'm about to mount something before I even know what my directory is, so let's do that. And that was 10.10.12.33. 10.10.12.33. And so that was home, is what we got back with that. Okay, so now that we know that, now we can mount that to our local machine. So first we're going to make a temporary directory called mount in our temp folder. So let's do make Okay. Now we're going to then use the mount command we broke down earlier to mount the NFS share to your local machine. Change the directory to where you mounted the share, and then we're going to see what is inside of that. So that is going to be where we're going to do that. Let's see. And it was when we were using this command here. Okay. Type NFS. That was 10.10.12.33. Going home. Temp mount. No lock. Okay. We should be able to and we see that there is a directory in there called cappuccino. And that's what they were asking for. So there's a folder. Right? No? I'm probably spelling that wrong. Cappuccino. Okay. Have a look inside the directory. Let's see what we got going on in there. And we got a bunch of stuff. Okay. Let's see, intro, let's do a bit and look through the folders. Which of these folders contains keys that would give us remote access to the server? Well, from our last video that we did, we knew that we got the keys in the .ssh folder. So let's do that. .ssh, so go see if that's good. Got some folks dropping in. Hey, what's up, DJax? What's good? And we got Mudge dropping in. I don't believe that is the actual real Mudge, but if it is, that would be pretty ridiculous. But hello to you. Let's see. Which of these keys is the most useful to us? Let's go back and take a look at that. The one that is the most useful, again, is the ID underscore RSA. Okay, now we are going to copy this file to a different location on your local machine and change the permissions to 600 using chmod 600 and the file. Assuming we're right about the type of directory this is, we can pretty easily work out the name of the user that this key corresponds to. Can we log into that using SSH and then the -i, which means that we're going to be able to take that SSH key file and use that versus using a password and the username and the IP. Okay, so let's take that and move that. We're going to copy that over to my home directory. I think probably would be the easiest thing to do. let's just go ID RSA. And can we just go like that? Okay, and CD. And okay, so the ID RSA is now in my home directory. We're gonna chmod it 600 ID RSA. Cool. Let's take a look at that. Make sure. Yep, that looks good. And then let's see what they want us to do. It was then taking that SSH with the key file and see if we can get in there, right? And let's see how that goes. So Chino at, I knew I was going to forget this IP. 10.10.12.33. 10.10.12.33. And we needed the -I and the name of the SSH key. All right. That looks good to me. Bam. We are in. So that would be a yes. We can do that. Okay. So now talking about, oh, did we? There we go. So exploiting NFS now that we were able to actually get access into it. Let's see what things here might be interesting. So root squash is probably something to talk about. Prevents anyone from connecting to the NFS shares from having root access to the NFS volume. Root users are assigned a user NFS nobody when connected, which means that they're going to have the least local privileges. That's a good thing, but if it's not configured that way, then that can be a way that can be exploited in some way. So I think what they're going to have us do is a creation of SUID bit files. And let's see. And what does that mean? It's a file or files that can run with the permissions of the file's owner or group. So if you have a file, that file has the SUID bit set for, I think in this case, we're going to be root. And then you go and you take and place that over on this file share. Then in essence, when you open or run this file, you then will be given the permissions of root, I think is in general how this is supposed to work. Let's see. So they kind of have a pathway mapped out here, but due to, okay, so what we're going to do, this sounds complicated, but really, provided you're familiar with how SUID works, it's fairly easy to understand. We're going to upload a file to the NFS share and control the permissions of these files. We can set the permissions of whatever we upload, in this case a bash shell executable. We can then log in through SSH, which we now have access to, as we did in the previous task, and execute this executable to gain a root shell. Okay, cool. So there's this link here for the bash executable that we're going to need to get onto the Linux VM here. And then we're going to drop it, I assume, into the NFS share. Yeah, okay. Let's see, they kind of have this mapped out here. So NFS access, gain low privilege shell, which is what we already have. Then we're going to upload the bash executable to the NFS share, so on my temp mount directory. We're going to set the SUID permissions through NFS due to the fact that the root squash hasn't been configured properly. Then we're going to log in through SSH, execute the bash executable, and then we should have root. Okay, we'll see how that goes. All right, first, change the directory to the mount point on your machine where the NFS share should still be mounted, and then into the user. So let's go back over. Let's go back over here. So we're going to go, we're logged in on this. So let's get off of this. And we're going to go, they said, to the temp mount cappuccino. There we go. Okay. Now we need to download, I think the next thing we needed to do, yes, okay, completed. Now we need to download that bash executable, and then copy that over into the directory that I'm in now. Okay, so let's see if we have that. We'll go a wget on that. Let's see. Okay, we'll go wget, just trying to get the URL for that. HTTPS github.com pulosec writing. I wish I could copy and paste between this stupid Linux box and the website. I guess I could log into TryHackMe through the browser on here on this Linux box, but it's all right. Security 20 challenge 20 walkthroughs. Let's see. Walkthroughs, networks to bash. Okay, now I should be able to copy that over. Let's see. That should be there. Okay. Now let's take a look at the permissions on that. Read, write. So it's read, write, read, read. Okay, now let's see what they wanted us to do. And then the copy bash shell must be owned by the root user. So sudo chown root bash. It kind of already is. Let me see. Oh, wait. I think I'm looking at what was already there, and I forgot to copy it over. So let me do that real quick. So that's CP downloads bash. No? Yeah, what did I do? think that is, let me move around. I'll take a look. Did that not? I wonder if that put that someplace else. Okay. No, I guess that was the right one. Okay. My bad. Sorry. Let's go back. We still needed to change the permissions on that. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna chown it, I think. Sudo chown root bash. Okay. Let's take a look at that. It was already had the root permissions though. I think that's why it was throwing me off. Okay. All right, now we're going to set the SUID bit permissions to the bash executable we just copied to the share using the sudo chmod, and then whatever that is going to be, and then the file name. So what letter do we have to use to set the SUID bit using chmod? So if we're unsure of that, let's look at the man on chmod. And let's see, a combination of letters. To set user or group IDs on execution. So that's S. Let's see if we're right. S. Yes, okay. So then that is going to be sudo chmod plus S bash. There we go. Okay, so now those S's are there. Very good. So the SUID bit permission is there. Let's do sanity check. Check the permissions. Yep, we looked at that. Make sure it ends with -sr-x. So that probably means that we will need to modify that again with +x. So let's go that. See if this works. -sr-x. Perfect. That is what they wanted. Okay. So what is the output from that? We'll pop that over there. So -r rws -rws r-s r-s r-x -x. Cool. Now, SSH into the machine as the user. We're going to list a directory to make sure that the bash executable is there. And then we're going to run it with the -p to persist the permissions. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Let's go see if that SSH is still, there we go. Did I? Oh, wait. Let's get out of that. Let's see. What happened with that? Let's see. I missed that somewhere. There we go. Just needed to be in the right directory. Hello. Well, welcome. All right, let's see. Okay, so we are in there. Let's see what we had. Okay, the bash file is there with our change permissions. We should be able to bash. Okay. And I am root. Sweet. So that was cool there. Let's see. ls-al. Was there a file that we needed to see? Let's see. Great. If all's gone well, you should have shell as root. So, okay. So we are there. But we are in the cappuccino directory. Let's cd to root. Cd root. There's root.txt. There we go. There we go. THM NFS got pwned. Sweet. So that is the flag. We have captured it. Got underscore. There we go. Correct and correct. Bam. Woo. That one was a long one. I think we did all right. Let's move into SMTP. I think that this one was going to be the longest one because we had to move files around and stuff like that. So we'll press forward and see how that goes. So let's terminate the NFS VM. We'll spin up the SMTP one while we're waiting, and we will talk about SMTP a little bit. Any questions or anything at this point? Go ahead and drop those in the chat. I see y'all kind of talking with each other, which is awesome. Let's see. SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. As we know, it goes over TCP port 25. Does a few different things. Sends email between different SMTP servers. It also is what you will see kind of like sending email out of your client out to the internet. We do use a different type of protocol when we are pulling email back into the environment. So that's normally going to be something like a POP or IMAP. Let's see if I'm getting ahead of myself, and that's actually what they have here. Yes, okay, they got a diagram of exactly what I'm talking about. Perfect. So user sends to SMTP server, goes out to the internet, a whole bunch of other SMTP servers out there, and then going to the recipient, it goes to another server running POP or IMAP, and then the recipient pulls that data down. Let's see, anything else of interest here? Whole bunch of different things. I don't know that any of that is really too crazy to get into. I don't know that they're going to have us do this here, but if you're actually troubleshooting in your own environment and you're trying to see whether or not a SMTP server is up and open and available, and you don't have any cool tools like Nmap or what else are they going to have us using? I think they're going to have us use Metasploit. You don't have something like that, you can use Telnet. And you can Telnet, you go Telnet, the IP address you want to go to, and then the number 25, because 25 is the TCP port that it's going on. And you, if the SMTP server is there and available to accept email, you will get some banner information back. So kind of useful and easy way to troubleshoot some stuff in your environment. So let's go through and answer this stuff, and we will go from there. So what does SMTP stand for? Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Does help when I spell correctly. And what does it handle the sending of? Emails. Perfect. What is the first step in the SMTP process? If we go back up and look at kind of the process here, it's going to be an SMTP handshake, and that's between your email client and the SMTP server that you're sending it to. SMTP, not into, SMTP handshake. Cool. And what is the default SMTP port? TCP 25. And where does the SMTP server send the email if the recipient's server is not available? Well, if you can't send it to the server, then it's going to queue it. So I'm going to say SMTP queue. Yep. On what server does the email ultimately end up on? POP or IMAP server? Can a Linux machine run SMTP? Of course it can. You do not need to use Microsoft Exchange as your SMTP server. Postfix is a great one, which runs on Linux and is probably what we're going to be running into in this test environment here, I would assume. Can you run it on Windows? Yes, you can. Okay. So let's hop into enumerating SMTP. We got our SMTP attack box already up and ready to go. Let's see what they got going on here. So enumerating. And they're talking about doing fingerprinting using the SMTP module with Metasploit. Cool. You can also enumerate users from SMTP. This actually can get kind of dangerous in your environment. So like, quick blue team tip. If you aren't protecting your SMTP server and any type of device can try to enumerate users, that can be very dangerous, because then a potential foe then has a list of users, email addresses, which sometimes might correlate back to their user accounts, or they can use it for different types of spear phishing attempts. So you do not want your SMTP server to have open connections to everywhere and allow enumeration of users to anybody. So there's different ways that you can go about locking that down. That is outside the scope of what we're talking about here, but that is something to think about because that is a very easy way to end up enumerating information that could be used against you. All right. So let's take a look at this. First, let's run a port scan on the target machine, same as last time. And again, same as last time, we aren't actually going to spend the time doing that. I have another nmap that I ran. We already talked about what all these different switches are with the A and the P and doing the aggressive scan. But from this, we can see that there's a whole bunch of ports open. And sadly, when I took the screenshot, there was this little thing on the screen that was covering up this one here, which is what matters. But it's TCP 25. Some interesting things that we get from this is we see that it is using postfix. So as I was talking about with Linux environments, using postfix as an email server. Yeah, I think that's kind of all I wanted to get out of that. You get the DNS name from the cert. Yeah, I think that's cool. So let's answer these questions here. It's running on 25. So now we're going to get into Metasploit and kind of do some other enumeration using that, right? So if you haven't used Metasploit before, don't worry too much about this. I'm going to try and walk through this. It's not, I mean, I think we're going to hit on a decent amount of stuff here, but I am planning on doing a more in-depth Metasploit room that TryHackMe has. That might actually be the next one that I do after this, so that might feed into that pretty well. So MSF console is what we're going to want to do to bring that up. And there's some pretty easy commands that you can do through here to figure things out. The help command is super useful. And here, I'll just do that. And it gives you a whole bunch of different types of commands based off of different things that you might want to be doing. Like, so database commands, job commands. So if you have a job and you want to kill it, then kill, and then the number of the job. And you'll see what I mean by number here when we actually kick one of these things off. Module commands are helpful when we're actually into the individual modules doing things. And then this one here, kind of the regular commands kind of helps you just navigate around the general area before you actually specifically get into whatever module you want to use. So let's take a look. What were they going to ask? If you wanted some help practicing, okay. What was the question though? What command would we use to, oh, we already did it. Sorry, my bad. MSF console. Oh, it does help when I spell it right though. There we go. And let's search for the module SMTP version. So cool thing with that is that you can just use the search command and what it is that you're specifically looking for. So we are just going to go search SMTP _ version. And it's going to come back and show us all the matching modules. And this is the one that matches that. And it's going to be something that's going to grab the SMTP banner, right? So that is going to give us whatever information. I think it should be worth noting these banners, I think normally you can actually modify them. So you can actually put out misinformation as far as what it is you're actually running. That might be a problem, I guess, depending upon if you're actually using that other tools to use that information to do different things, but it is kind of something to think about. So what is the full module name? Auxiliary. Scanner SMTP _ version. Man, I can't spell. Submit. Cool. Now select the module and list the options that you want to do. I think we used a use command with that. And so what we're looking at, the modules are numbered. That comes up with that, right? So 0. So I think we go use 0. Yep. And there we go. Then it puts us into that. So now within here, we should be able to take a look at what our options are. So options are going to be different configurations that we need to put, well, either we need to put or might be optional in order for us to run this module to do whatever its purpose is. So I think we should be able to hit options. And we see that there's a few different options. We have remote hosts. So that's going to be the target host or IP address. That's required. Remote port is 25. That's required. And threads, number of concurrent threads. Right, and that defaults to 1. So let's take a look and see what they were asking us to do. How do you list the modules? Or how do you list the options? The options is the keyword. Have a look through the options. Does everything seem correct? Which option do we need to set? Well, you see the current setting here, remote hosts doesn't have anything set. So we would need that because it's required. So remote host is going to probably, in this case, be the IP address that we're trying to connect to. Our hosts, not ghosts. Come on, man. There we go. Set that to the correct value for your target machine, then run the exploit. Okay, so then our target IP address is 10.10.110.93. So we are going to go back. And we're already under here, so we can go set our host. You can tab if you like to tab. Tabbing is good. 10.10 110.93. 10.93. Enter, and now we have that set. So then if we look at options again, it should show that that is now in place. Perfect. And then when we want to, let's see, they're asking for what is, oh, then we're going to run it. To run it, we're going to hit exploit. All right. And then we come back with this information here. Very cool. And I think we kind of even got some of this information from that nmap when we were looking at that before. Yeah, we kind of got the name there, and we got it was postfix, but yeah, we get a little Ubuntu information there. Yeah, okay, cool. So the question is, what is the system mail name? Polo SMTP period home. Okay. What MTA is running on the SMTP server? Thought we said that was postfix. Okay, good. We've now got a good amount of information on the target system to move into the next stage. So now we're going to use a different module within Metasploit, SMTP underscore enum, which I'm sure is, we're going to be looking to try to maybe enumerate usernames. So let's see. Let's get out of that. Oh, didn't mean to do that all the way. MSF console. We should be able to search SMTP enum. And there we go. I'm going to use 0. What are our options? Okay, a whole bunch of stuff. What's the full module name? So we're kind of just going through the same stuff that we were doing with the previous module. Let's see. So that is the name, the auxiliary scanner SMTP underscore enum. We're going to be using the top username shortlist.text word list. That should already be installed. So what do we need to set to the word list's path? So we go under options. And then we're going to go set. No, that's already there. Op metasploit there, text. So that's under user file, user underscore file. User underscore file. Okay. Yep. Let's see. The next question is, okay. Once we've set this option, what is the other essential parameter that we need to set? Probably the our hosts, because that hasn't been set yet. And that was 10.10, 110.93, 93. Okay. And then we should, let's see, probably we can make it go a little bit faster if we set the threads on that too. Our hosts, yep. Set threads, let's make it fast. I have no idea what this box is running, but we'll see what happens. Just say that is the case. Say they want us to go grab a cup of coffee and stay hydrated. We don't have time for that. So, let's see. Now, okay. So we ended up getting a user account administrator, and we know the type of SMTP server and operating service running. We know from our port scan that we saw that SSH has a login, and we could try to brute force that. We could try to brute force the password for SSH login using Hydra. Okay, so we'll exit out of this. Yep. No, we'll just exit. Okay. Now, let us go. We used Hydra before, so this should kind of look somewhat familiar to you, but we'll just kind of go over this real quick. Hydra to actually call using the tool, the number of connections that you want to go to the target. In this case, 16 -L and then your username -P to where your text file is for your passwords. Dash lowercase v, uppercase V is going to be for very, very verbose. Then the IP address, and the protocol that you want to use. So let us just go and use Hydra and see if we can get this. So Hydra, we'll do 16 sessions -l lowercase l administrator -p word lists rocky text -v capital V for very, very verbose 10.10.1 10.93 and SSH, and we do it. And it's got so much stuff going on there. And again, we'll let that run for a little bit and see if the answer comes back for that in a reasonable period of time. If not, then we can just find out what the answer for that is online. Because again, the whole purpose of this is kind of understanding the tools and how you go about using them. We already know in this case that, you know, the passwords and stuff are already there since we'll put the answer in and they'll tell it's correct. All right, so I think that's good enough seeing Hydra kind of running its thing. Cool. So the correct password that would have been coming out of that would be Alejandro. And let's see, we can go over. Okay, so now let's SSH into the box with that and look for our flag. And the user count again was administrator at 10.10.1 10.93. And then it's going to ask for the password. And it does help when I spell it correctly. Uh-oh. Oh. Helps when I use the correct username. You need to spell that correctly too. Administrator. There we go. Here we go. Cat SMTP text. There we go. There's our flag. All right. We'll take victory with that. And who new email servers were 00L question mark that. All right. That means we are to MySQL. We're going to do these. I think we can get through this quick. So let's shut down this machine. Any questions at this point before we jump into MySQL? Let's get rid of that. We'll spin this one up. I think this one is pretty much going to be very similar to this last one as far as using Metasploit. All right, let's see. So, MySQL, relational database. I mean, database is fantastic. I've never found databases to be fun to deal with. Hey man, I appreciate you sticking around for as long as you did. Go get at that AWS stuff. I'll catch you later. Let's see. So, relational database management system. A software service used to create and manage databases based on a relational model. So, data is stored and related to other things. Sometimes they have, keys? Primary keys? Yeah. I don't really know how much that really comes into play as far as understanding how we're going to enumerate and exploit this, but that's fine. Let's get into that. Okay. Let's get through these questions. So what is MySQL? We said it's a relational database management system. Bam. What language is it based off of? Well, I think the name kind of gives it away. SQL. What communication model does MySQL use? Well, it uses a client to server, I believe. Clients make requests. Yeah, so let's go client server. Common application of MySQL. It's commonly used as a back-end database. Cool. What major social network uses MySQL as their back-end database? Oh. What's the hint? Who was involved in the Cambridge Analytica scandal? That is hilarious. Oh, Facebook. Facebook will get you every time. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's a good hint. All right, so enumerating this. So we need to have a MySQL is likely not going to be the first point of call when it comes to getting information about the server. You can, as we have in previous attempts, try to brute force default account passwords if you really don't have any information. Typically, when you gain some initial credentials for enumerating services, this can be used to enumerate and exploit MySQL service. As this room forces exploiting enumerating of the network service for the sake of the scenario, we're going to assume that you found the credentials, root, and password while enumerating subdomains of a web server. After trying to log in against SSH unsuccessfully, you decided to try it against MySQL. Okay, and so that's going to require a MySQL client, which is already on the box, and then we're going to be using Metasploit. All right, so let's take a look at a port scan. Again, not spending the time doing that, but we did do this before. You'll see a MySQL port came up here, and it's 3306 is what is running on. Now we think we have a set of credentials because we talked about having that from above. What can we use? What can we do using this command? So we're gonna go and run that and see what we can get. See if we can get some access. So it's MySQL, the host 10.10 see what that was, 7.244, and it was, the username was root, and I'm gonna prompt for the password. Oh, so we gotta install that real quick. Install yeah, that's fine. And we'll let it go through and get that. Hey man, no worries. We are into the last service that we're exploiting here. We already did SMTP and we did NFS, so now we're doing a little MySQL action. Just doing some enumeration right now, and then we're going to use Metasploit. All right, so let's try that command again. And I think the password was password, if I remember right. Let's see. Yeah, password. All right, and we are in it. So that's good to know that we can get into it with that account. So then the question was, once we log in and we make sure that they work, then we get out of that with exit, and then we're going to use Metasploit. Cool. SF console, spin that up, and we'll get rid of that. All right, so it's pretty much going to be the same thing as what we did before. We're going to search for the module that we want to use. So MySQL _ SQL. And there we go, we found it. So generic query module, we're going to use 0. Okay, and then we want to see what the options are. So what is required here? The IP that we're going to, the remote port, which is the correct one, SQL, yep, okay. So we could use username and password with this, since we do have that as well. We'll see if that's what they want us to do, but first let's answer this question while we have it. And the question was, what are the 3 options that we need to set? So that was password, remote host, and username. Okay. So let's set those. And then we will run this. So let's go set password. The password was password. Set username. And that was root. Set our remote hosts. And that was, where's that? 10.10.7.244. Oh, let's... Oh, I do have... 10.10.7.244. Right. And I also have this thing about to expire. So let's add some time back on there. There we go. Because we don't want that to kick us out. And let's refresh that so that... There we go. Sorry about that. Just didn't want that to die right in the middle of it. It's 7.244. Yep. Now let's look at the options, make sure everything there is set. Yep. We should be able to exploit. Okay. So we were able to get the correct version. Cool. Okay, and what does the selected version end up giving us? 5.729 Ubuntu. Yeah, okay. So it is 5.729. No, come on. Dash 0 1 2 0 period 18.041. Cool. Now that we know that our exploit is landing as planned, let's go for some more ambitious information. So we're going to do the SQL option to show databases. So let's go options again so we can see that. Set SQL, then we'll show databases. Yeah. Is that one word? No. Set SQL show bases. Okay. Exploit that too. Okay, and then we come back with these being the different databases that are within that. So we got 4. How many? 4. Cool. All right, now let's exploit it. So let's do a sanity check. We know the SQL Server credentials, we know the version, and we know the number of databases and their names. Cool. So in MySQL, physically, a schema is synonymous with database. Okay, so you can use create schema instead of create database. Hashes are very simply the product of cryptographic algorithms that turn variable length information or variable length input into a fixed length output. It can be used in different ways. All right. So let's first find this module, the MySQL schema dump module. We are about to exploit the hell out of it. Yes. All right. Woo. Let's see what we got. Man. MS. I didn't mean to do that again. So we are going to search for MySQL schema dump. There we go. Okay. Use 0. Options. What do we got? A few different things here. Display results, password, remote host, remote port, threads, username. I mean, pretty much the same stuff that we've been putting in. Okay, let's put this in here. What's the full module name? Okay. So it is auxiliary scanner MySQL underscore schema dump. Great. Now that you've done this a few times, set the relevant options and exploit. Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. So let's go our set our host 10.10 7 244 set password set username, I believe it was root. Just double check that that was root. Yeah, it was root. Okay. Okay, anything else? I don't think so. I think that was good. And then we get a whole bunch of tables and the columns that are in all of those. So pretty much dumping out all the stuff in the database as far as how it's set up. Okay, so the question then was, what is the last table that gets dumped? Well, it looks like the weights global by latency. So let's put that in. X $ weights underscore global underscore by underscore latency. Cool. Awesome. You've dumped the tables and the column names of the whole database, but we can do better. What? Are you serious? Show split view. There we go. Okay. I don't know what that. I don't know why I did that. Let's. Still there. Okay. No. It's still there. It's still good. I don't know why it popped that up because. Oh, I mean, I guess the SQL box expired. Well, that's okay that the SQL box expired. What the heck? Come on, man. We were right at the end. Let me refresh this real quick. Yep. I'm going to refresh. What? Oh, you guys are killing me. That was weird. I don't know. I don't know what they think they're doing. All right, but yes. Crisis averted. Yes. It's still there. I know there's too much hacking going on. They got upset. They shut it down. But I think we're good. So, let's continue. What were we about to do? Dumped. Oh, now we gotta find a different. I'm going to go find a different module. I know that there's a way, like I keep exiting out, and I know that there's a way to go back in Metasploit, and I just don't remember it off the top of my head. I should use the help command to find out what that is, but since it only takes like 5 seconds for it to to reload, I haven't done that yet. But okay, we were going to search for MySQL underscore hash dump. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to use, see in this point, we're going to use number 1. Okay, options. Set. I mean, we know what we're doing at this point because we've done this a whole bunch. 7.244, 7.244. Set password was password. Set username root. See if there's anything else that they wanted us to do here. Oh, I jumped over the full module name. We'll make sure we get that. That is auxiliary scanner. It's the same path as last one. MySQL underscore hash dump. Cool. And set username root, and we exploit. What do we got? Oh, Carl. Carl looks interesting. That looks different than everything else. Okay. Somewhere Rick Grimes is screaming his name. Again, I wish I had a Carl meme right now. And we have their password hash. This could be interesting. Copy the full hash to a file on your local machine called hash.txt. So we're going to copy that. All right, and we'll get out of here. VI and what hash.txt. We're going to paste that there. Hash.txt is there. Cool. They did want to know what the hash combination was. And they're actually going to make me write that out without being able to copy it over. That sucks. All right. Let's see. EA031802170FC2160A56978B8CEEC. No. C E E C E 18. Whew. All right. Now we're going to use John the Ripper against that. So again, another password cracking tool. This should be pretty straightforward. John hash text. Oh, look at that. Carl's password is doggy. Okay. And so, password reuse is not only extremely dangerous, but common. What are the chances this user reuse their password for a different service? Like SSH, right? Probably. So let's see if we can SSH Carl at 10.10. It would have been better if like the password was Negan, but you know, what can you do? 244. Yes. Doggy. And we are in. Woo! Cat that. And there we go. Congratulations, we got the flag. Okay, let's go pop that in. And then we will be done. So any questions or anything on any of that? Any comments while I type this incredibly long flag text in? Congratulations underscore you got the MySQL flag. Bam. Woo. That was a lot. That was like an hour and a half. I can't believe that. And there's actually a decent amount of people that are still here on the stream, so that's crazy if you actually stayed here for an hour and a half watching this. But I hope it was entertaining, hope it was helpful and useful, and you learned something from it. And yeah, we're going to keep doing some more of these TryHackMe rooms. I think they're pretty cool, they're pretty fun. So any comments or anything before we bounce? I'm going to go get some dinner. We made it. I know, that's crazy. Oh, that was a long room. All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, appreciate it. Yeah, you got in for the last third of it, so that's good. You didn't miss too much. Picked up some stuff. So yeah, smash the like button, subscribe, share it with your friends. Good job, everybody. Yeah, especially if everybody was actually doing this kind of along as we were going through here. Although this room, I'm not sure this room is a free one or if it's a paid one. I think this one actually is a paid one. That says it at the bottom. Only subscribers can deploy virtual machines in this room. So maybe you can do this room if you used a VPN and connect with your own Kali box. Group dinner in DC? Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. We'll figure that out. So, all right. Well, yeah, once again, thank you everybody for dropping in. I got some more Linux Plus labs coming up too. Kind of interesting the overlap between that and kind of the stuff we're doing here. So this is kind of a good way to learn some Linux too if you kind of need to get spun up on that. So, and as I mentioned, I think the next one that we'll do for the TryHackMe ones will be the Metasploit one, especially since we kind of were starting to dive into that a little bit here. So, all right, everybody have a great evening, and we'll all chat soon. All right, bye.